Hello. Hello. Oh
Cool.
no, that got recorded.
Yeah, no, that's what we're here for. We're recording this, right? We're embracing the asynchronous nature of this. We don't care when this is recorded. It'll be published on YouTube, right? Cool. Welcome, everyone. This is the first Grafana Community Call after a 2-year hiatus. How are we all feeling?
Pretty good.
Pretty good. That's
Excited.
good. Yeah,
so really good today.
Yeah, so we'll be recording this and we'll also publish this on YouTube, just in the normal community call channels. I think we also wanted to rebrand this a bit here. This call is going to be the Grafana Campfire, where we'll talk about just all things Grafana, really, sort of Grafana, as we like to say at Grafana Labs, and also a bit of sort of engineering culture. I feel like we can fit both into this. And if you're a fan of GrafanaCon, I think this is for you also. All right, and the new format, maybe it's worth explaining. We'll try to get the same group of hosts always going. So it'll be myself, David, then Carl and Matt. And so maybe let's just introduce ourselves. So I run the Grafana department now for over a year, I think. And yeah, that's all sort of visualizations, data sources, and I also work with Carl and Matt. Carl, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Carl Bergquist. I'm one of the first employees at Grafana Labs and one of the first contributors to Grafana itself. I was working next to Torkel when he created Grafana 10 years ago. So I've been in this land or this project for quite some time now. 9 years. Still exciting, still gets me going, still excited to where we can go in the future, still exciting to see people learn from their systems by looking at different observability signals. Still super excited about this. Matt, how about you?
Yeah. Hi, Carl. Thanks, Carl. Yeah, so I'm Mat Ryer. I've been at Grafana Labs now 3.5 years, I think, and I came in starting doing the IRM incident with the on-call thing, so the whole IRM story, and then also AIML, and looking at places where that can help. But more recently, I've been focused on the new Explore apps, which are these sort of higher level point and click experiences on top of the databases, and we can talk more about them too. So yeah, also thrilled to be here. I'm excited for the reboot of the call Campfire.
That's good. Cool. There's also 2 other Grafana people here, right? So maybe we introduce you. Maybe you can introduce yourselves too, right? Ronald, because I've seen you on the invite. You are part of which group?
I am part of the developer advocacy team. So yeah, I've been at Grafana Labs for about 5.5 years, so not nearly as long as Carl. But yeah, I was on the go-to-market team, so I was a solution engineer for a long time, and I moved over to the pure open source side to do developer advocacy, help people get started with Grafana, help people get engaged. And yeah, my team also works on Grafana. We've got another team that works on some of the database tools. So I'm excited to be here and looking forward to this kicking back off.
That's great. We also have Christina. You were gracious enough to join. What are you working with?
I'm a senior engineer on the DataViz team. So I like to hang out in the community Slack and answer DataViz questions, and just wanted to be a part of this for that. That's
awesome. Yeah. I definitely appreciate engineers answering community questions. I think that's always good. We also have Mikael here. Sorry, I'm just introducing everyone now that I'm seeing. We've also met, I think, a few times because you've been essentially like a big part of the community and just building, I think, 1 million plugins. Maybe you give a little intro to yourself.
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Mikhail Volkov. I'm a Grafana champion, one of the first one. And yes, we are building a lot of different plugins, and now we call it Business Suite, because we all combine them together and rebrand it. And we are working on something which called Business Intelligence, which is something new and exciting. We'll introduce soon.
That is cool. How did you find out about this community call? Because yeah, it hasn't happened in a while.
From David?
Oh, from David Allen. Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
So
David Allen.
so he runs Grafana Community and the Champions program. Yeah, and so it's also announced in the public Slack. So we have also a public Slack channel called Grafana Campfire. Where you can hang out and also ask questions during the call and after the call. Sweet. So yeah, we also wanted to call this like a Grafana Campfire because I think it just has a lot of big tent vibes, campsite vibes. Have you ever been to a campsite, Matt?
I did go once, but that was just a mistake. I went into the wrong field. I've got a little heater on here just for the vibes. It's an electric heater, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Next time, maybe I will start a little fire. That could be fun.
Yeah, that could be fun. Yeah.
Oh, you're muted, Ronald.
Yeah, double muted. I was saying everybody needs a little fake fireplace or something behind them.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
Good idea.
Yeah, no, we also want this to be a bit different to the Big Tent podcast. I feel like that podcast has more finish, and they're going a bit more for sort of timeless themes, and a bit parts of it also a bit more around the product. And so I think we're trying to keep this a bit more open sourcey and engineering focused. But Matt, you've been part of that too, right?
Yeah, I'm a regular on that podcast, and it's kind of phenomenal, honestly. Like, just digging deep on particular issues, getting various people involved. Some of the guests that we get, because we're just very open with guests, so we get some kind of amazing people, and you just learn so much from it, as well as get to just sort of hang out, which is nice. So I recommend the podcast. It's available from wherever you get your podcasts, as they say.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Sweet. So I was trying to figure out a bit what could we do as the first episode, right, of the first version of the revamp. And I think like 2 years have gone by. I think it's just a long time. So I thought we just look a bit at what happened. So I certainly had a chunk of my own growth here, taken over the Grafana department. I was just looking at numbers. 2 years ago, I think we were at 70-ish people when the last call happened, and now we're at 130, which is a bit crazy. So just the Grafana department alone. And also Matt, like you joined, you came over from the incident team.
Yeah, but I just count as one.
Yeah, you're just one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Carl, you've been here for a while. What have you been working on?
Oh wow, good question. I think it was about a year ago or something like that I stopped working as much in our cloud environment. So before that, I was tech lead for the hosted Grafana team, which is the team that operates Grafana in our cloud environment. Now I work with multiple teams or on special missions, how to say so to say. But that was my mission back then, and I did that for 3-4 years or something like that. That was also when we come to the conclusion that the way we operate Grafana in our cloud environment is not good enough anymore. So when we created our managed Grafana offering maybe 7 years ago, that was when Kubernetes was new, and the idea of just deploying one pod per customer felt quite attractive to us because we didn't have to put a lot of effort into the Grafana project. We could just say, create a new one. It's an API call, and Kubernetes figures it out for us. And the open source team could just keep shipping open source features without dealing with cloud problems. As the service grew and grew, we got better at that. But at a certain point, we just decided now it's time for multi-tenancy, and we need a different way of operating Grafana. And that is the big project we're doing right now. And we have that further down the list, that Grafana platform. And I think that's an interesting topic, because when you go from 70 to 130 people, like working the same code base is painful. And that's one of the things we want to achieve with that project, make it smaller pieces so they can work in isolation. That was a little bit of everything, I feel.
Yeah, that's a good amount. Yeah, that is a good amount. Yeah, so you and I are working also very closely together. I feel like we spend probably a good year also getting, I guess, like doing a bit of a shift towards DevOps, right? Where a lot of the Grafana department have been the original Grafanistas almost, right? And they've been, I guess, like joined a company that built essentially like a little app that you can download, and that was open source, right? And now we're operating a good part of it, and so we also had to, just learn how to operate things. And so we ran, a good amount of sort of operational excellence meetings, and I think we've gotten quite far, I think, and have a good set of internal dashboards, which I think could be a good future topic, like how we run Grafana itself.
Yeah, that's a big project internally right now as well, how to improve that. So that's going to be interesting to talk about.
Yeah, I was at a GopherCon conference in Berlin, I think it was, or maybe Athens, one of those places, and
non-London.
Isn't Berlin like the Athens of the East, or the other way around, or something?
Yeah, Berlin's like the Athens of Germany, I suppose. I'm from the Athens of the UK, London, but this was in the Athens of Greece, Athens, they call it, I think. And we talked about DevOps, particularly like, the point of like, you build it, you run it. What does that mean, and what does that get you? And the big reaction was that it was a big surprise that most people still had separate kind of operations team, different people. And there's a lot of coordination needed and things. And I was kind of explaining how it went down at Grafana Labs, and people were like very excited. In fact, the joke was, can we come and work at Grafana Labs? That became like the running joke of the conference because of that. So I do think that is a topic that is worth talking about. Why DevOps? Why is it important that you run it and you're responsible for decisions you're making at the developer time? And caring about that whole flow. And I think,
I just realized, and also like in all that transition of the engineering team, I feel like I read a good amount of just DevOps literature, and it always starts with this sort of division between developers and operations people. I don't think I've ever met a single operations person like in my life. Like I don't. What are they? What's Did we?
I've definitely met
did
them.
we have
They're
someone
in
like this?
the bigger,
Customers.
older banks and things. Yeah.
Say again, Ronald?
I've definitely met some. They tend to be in the big old organizations. Like think of the big banks that have been around for 100 years. They definitely have this like strong culture of divisions between teams, and it's often kind of like pulling teeth to get them to push those things together, even if the individual teams, like the developers and the operators, are both like, we want to do this, it's going to be better and more efficient. Breaking down those structures is often tough. I think it's harder to rebuild the structural the actual team structure than it is to do the engineering a lot of times.
The reason you've not met many ops people is because they're fighting fires all the time, David. They're busy. And genuinely, like, I think their job is harder. I think the idea that, obviously, as a developer, I love the idea that I can just throw it over and someone else has to worry about it. I do. That is very appealing. But I've been burned enough times, or you literally, like, decisions you take, you really got to consider, like, this has got to run. And I'm the one that's going to be making sure this runs. I'm going to be a bit more careful here than I might be otherwise, or make other decisions, So it is really interesting how you see that behavior change when it's blended. But I was surprised too at this conference. I mean, I'm from kind of startups mainly, where you don't even have a department. You don't have enough people for a department, or if you do, you're doing it just to get the letterhead title for the email. So I was surprised too. But and then they did work at a lot of big companies, but the majority of them at this conference in the Athens of Greece was, that sounds like some dream to have dev and ops in one role. But that is what DevOps is, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what we've been told. Yes.
Yeah, that's what I was told too.
Yeah, but I mean, Carl, you worked at the Swedish PayPal, right? Did you?
Yeah, we had an operations teams, but they were more a platform team, which you would call them today, helping the developer teams to perform their work or finding toolings and yeah. I mean, they did some classic ops work like provision VMs with certain version numbers and patching them and so on, like in the background. But their main responsibility or main push or work for the company was helping the developers be faster, be more resilient. The developers were always on call, and that's the best way of increasing quality. Give the pager to developers, and it just gets better. So I never worked with a strict ops department. It's always been platform or enablers.
But just to be clear, that company you work at's not called the Swedish PayPal, is it? But if not, I mean, it's such a good idea to just do that. Just be like, yeah, we did this. This is the Swedish PayPal.
It was for eBay before they split eBay and PayPal, but I worked for like the local site, so it wasn't eBay.com, but it was the eBay company.
Ah,
yeah.
Yeah, no, it's I do think that also over the last couple of years, we definitely focused also to build Grafana itself for the DevOps crowd, right? Because we want to also just focus on software to like that sort of scratches our own itch. But I do wonder, because there's still a lot of operations people around, must be. I mean, as you said, Matt, they're fighting fires. I guess it's my hope that we'll reach some of them here at some point when they join in the future episode. Because we do also want to, as part of this, and hopefully we'll find out more when this sort of gets continued month over month. Yeah, if we're still building the right things, right? And so if Grafana is still suitable for just ops people alone, yeah.
I love talking to ops-minded people. It tends to be the people who really cares about products in productions and customers. I find that in many cases where you have the classic ops and dev split, developers tend to care less about their customers and ops tend to care more, because when things operate as expected, they have a good week. When developers don't see that problem in those kind of companies. So I love working with ops-minded people. That's for sure. And I say minded because like it's just always like you can be in the same team, do different kind of works, pushing together, but there's a certain mindset to doing operational work, doing quality work, doing SRE work, and all that kind of stuff. It's a little bit different compared to just writing really good code and following certain design patterns and so on, which would be like the only dev-minded engineer.
Yeah, that's a nice point. Like even if your organization has separate ops and dev things, it is still good to have a good mind for how is this going to run in the real world? What can go wrong with it? Like, yeah, things can go wrong. So what can go wrong? How can we mitigate that or defend against it? Maybe we're okay with the risk. Yeah, but often if you just think in this sort of siloed way and you throw it over the wall, I do think I've seen it before. I've done it myself, where you make decisions and then in the reality of running it, you think, oh, this actually was a bad idea to do it like this. I have to go and rewrite it. But in startups, it's very common to sort of, you have to do a bit of everything. You know, obviously in bigger orgs, it's different. But I do think it's harder to just do purely ops role and other people are building the thing. I think those people are kind of great, honestly, because I think that's really hard. DevOps is easier. Having it developers, you build it, you run it, is easier. And that's why we do it too, I think.
From the other side, there is also customer success people who want to prevent this kind of fires. And this is where my background actually is. So and this is how we started to use Grafana to prevent this kind of fire. So we know about the problem even before it reached DevOps people. They have to fix it. So creating all kind of graphs, right? Proactively monitor something which can happen. And then you just tell it to developer people, ops people, and they fix it before it's actually happened and affect customers. This is what I like about Grafana. You can use it across the whole organization, from delivery standpoint, from operations, customer success, and different business cases as well.
Yeah. Mikhail, do you like write code and do operation stuff?
I have a team now who's I'm mostly doing reviewing a lot right now. I review so many things, but the team, I have a director of engineering as well in the company, and we hire him as well because the number of plugins increasing. I less and less write it, but yes, we do write a lot of code. I review it. We submit plugins every week, something for the team, for Grafana team to review. Yeah, but we also operate our own servers, our own development environment, and the environment for the customer. We help in deploy an environment for the customers. And one of the topic actually, which not mentioned a lot of times, that for the cloud, you expect that customers runs one Grafana instance where you have everything in the cloud. But in many organizations, they run multiple Grafana instances, like 50 of them, hundreds of them, for each for every use case, for every customers, for every organizations, to have this data separation. And this is something, it's not, there are all kinds of tools, right, to help you with that. Grafana as a code, Helm charts, but there is, I think there is not enough. And this is actually comes to this topic, how you actually operate and deploy it with multiple Grafana instances. And it's not covered enough. And especially when you run it in high availability, Lloyd. And there is a learning curve, actually, how you run it as a high availability and actually have distributed load as well. Because Grafana can do distributed load, alerts not that much. And yeah, this is why you have a different bottlenecks. And this is why you need operations and dev people to learn, like to see when you increase your number of alerts, how you can prevent service degradation. And I think you work with all these issues in the cloud. And this is why I would love to learn more about your experience, what Carl mentioned. What is the multi-tenancy, where you're going? Because there is a concept of organization in Grafana, which I think it was deprecated for a long time, but it's still there because people use it. But again, because of these bottlenecks and the alert mechanism, I think it have to be something else. So I would love to learn more about multi-tenancy.
So yeah, organizations in Grafana, that's a fun topic. We've been wanting to cut that forever because it causes security problems at a like even pace. The implementation of organizations is not secure enough for us to use it in our cloud environment. It was something that happened really early in Grafana's history, and then we kind of didn't give it enough attention. So we're not using it internally. We know some customers are using it, and we are gonna replace it eventually. How multi-tenancy is gonna play out commercially versus open source, I don't have an answer to that yet. I don't think we have a public answer to that yet. I wouldn't assume that multi-tenancy goes into open sources, because that is more for the people who want to operate Grafana as a service, which is more commercial than open source. That depends on where you lie on that scale, or like how you're using Grafana. As for how to operate many instances, we have a lot of tooling that is bespoke to us, and we do not really want to share them because like open source, we are strong believers in open source, of course, but open sourcing also takes time and efforts and reduce your ability to change things the pace you want to go at sometimes. So by open sourcing all of those custom operators, it would slow us down and make our cloud investment slow down, and we don't want to do that. Also, we want the freedom to just replace them very quickly whenever it's time. So that's a little bit of a story for our cloud environment and Grafana at scale. If I were to operate 50 instances on-prem, I would probably go with Helm charts or something like that, like some kind of configuration layer on top of Helm charts to make it easy to create new instances and manage them the same way.
Right. But it's a one question how to start them on operate, start, stop operation part. Another part is the tokens, right? How you do the token service accounts, dashboard management, because I mean, when you run different QA environments, station environments, production environments, and then you have to replicate and move it around these dashboards, have the whole life cycle, that's a totally different challenges. And there is no tool for that.
Nope. This is all in the workings. So if we think about Grafana projects maturity, we are investing heavily in what we call the Grafana app platform, and maybe we can talk about that a little bit. And that is our backend architecture of the future, and where we have more consistency and make things easier to automate. So we are very inspired by the Kubernetes API server in this project. So instead of trying to reinvent everything ourselves, we are going to use the patterns established by the API server, API patterns, authentication patterns, and everything. So pretty much everything that you can automate with Kubernetes, you're going to be able to automate with Grafana. And people manage to automate a lot of things for Kubernetes, right?
Yeah.
But we're getting there. We're getting in there.
Yeah, I saw the repository. I thought there are a lot of things in Grafana organization happening, and there are all kind of innovations. It's really hard to track them, and they're not, I mean, they're published in blogs from time to time, but you have to actually go to organization and like see, oh, Grafana is working on that piece, on that stuff. But yeah, it will be nice to have more visibility in that as well.
Yeah, we're definitely, so you mentioned alerting also earlier, right? And I feel like that's also one of those features that has undergone kind of like multiple iterations. And I think we also had a sort of probably 1 year of just headache around like how alerting was used with different engines running in the background. And that's definitely a good topic for like a whole episode, essentially, where we're going to try and get someone from the alerting team in, to really explain what they have been working on, where this is all going, because we do want to ultimately deliver a good experience for both like on-prem, but also how to run this cost-effective and at scale for us.
Yeah, we can schedule it. Actually, I would be really interested in joining this one, because we spend a lot of time with alerting, and in the current state, I mean, every time it became better and better, but still there are a lot of pain how you configure it, how you create new alerts, how you always provision and test it, and especially the way how you move from environment to environment, because nobody wants to create alerts on production environments when you have SMS notifications to the customer, right? You test it somewhere, then you have to replicate it, and that can be improved. Many other things.
Yeah. No, I think, there's a whole sort of as code and kind of like driving Grafana instances sort of externally initiative going. And we really hope to have something also by next GrafanaCon to talk a bit more publicly about this, which is happening in, like 6 months in May. Yeah. So yeah, not many months left to get that done. Sweet. So I was also curious, because I think very early on today we chatted a bit about like in the last 2 years. Is there anything that's sort of stuck out for you as a feature, like maybe last GrafanaCon or the one before, that you thought was particularly exciting? And could also be a full sort of topic for an upcoming episode. Anything for you, Carl?
It took us some time to get there, maybe too long, but that's a different conversation. And that is nested folders. So we launched no folders in Grafana 4 or something, and then it took us 6 versions to launch nested folders. And saying that we support folder structures but only one level, that's a little bit weird. Like there's a good reason for it, but I'm really happy that we have nested folders now, so people can create better structures for their dashboards instead of having everything in rows, because that's just messy.
Yeah, but
okay.
also
I wanted. Oh, sorry, David. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Ronald.
I just wanted to say a big thanks for that one, because like I said, I've been here for over 5 years. literally my second week on the job, I was talking to an IT executive at a big bank in New York. And the first thing out of his mouth when he heard that I worked at Grafana Labs was, why don't you have nested folders? And I met with that guy every few months for years. And literally he asked me that every single time. So like getting to tell him that they were there was one of the highlights of my life.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm always curious when people ask that question, like how many levels do you need? Because this can go really deep really quickly. And then depending on how it's implemented, this can be like really gnarly. Do people just want teams essentially, and then the next level down is the sort of within team organization, or do they want more? Do you have a good sense, Ronald?
Oh, I thought you were asking Carl. Yeah, definitely teams. Like the big request was, like, for this bank in particular, as an example, they didn't, they had literally thousands of dashboards. They weren't able to divide them up kind of logically. You can argue that's too many dashboards, and I've had that argument with people, but you can't always change their minds. Yeah, so what they really wanted to be able to do was have like regions and then teams, and then inside the teams, a set of dashboards. So like 2 or 3 levels is probably enough for, I like go out on a limb and say 95% of the use cases I've ever heard of. Probably 100%, but if I forget something, I want to hedge so I protect myself. Like people, I've never heard anybody be like, yeah, I want something 100 folders deep. Like nobody wants to nest that deep. I think if we had 10, 10 levels, people would probably never even hit that limit.
Yeah, I mean, 10's already a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I think 2 or 3 is honestly what people really want. Like I want to be able to say team, like my team, and then like dev and prod, and then 10 dashboards inside of each one makes it super easy to navigate.
Yeah, I feel like there's a sort of maturity sort of curve where in the beginning you might try to get by with just sort of tags or kind of like the dashboard label mechanism, but then people start duplicating dashboards and like not updating the tags, and then you just find stuff that you shouldn't find, and then you just get to this sort of more disciplined way where you have someone go in and sort of start having a proper directory of things, right? Yeah.
Then you go one level deeper and teach them to use library panels, but that feels like the last step on everybody's journey.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the recent features, right?
Yeah.
Like, have you seen any uptake there?
Yeah, everybody I've ever shown that feature to, like their eyes bug out of their head. Like everybody wants to have this ability to create the golden view of something and then not have people screw it up later. Like that is one of the biggest complaints I've ever heard in talking to, and I've talked to a bunch of organizations using Grafana. It's not a complaint about Grafana, it's more a complaint that, hey, my teams all go off and they build their own dashboards that are all slightly different from one another, and they can't agree on what the truth is. And so being able to say, yeah, you can build this library and literally just have people inherit panels, and you make a change, they get to pick that up. Like people love that. I think we could do a better job of, I don't know if it's discoverability or surfacing that, or maybe giving some mechanism to enforce it. Like I don't know how you would enforce that kind of thing, but it'd be great to be able to say, like, Clippy pops up from the bottom and says, hey, it looks like you're trying to build a latency dashboard. You should use the stuff that already exists instead of rolling your own. But yeah, people love it. Everybody I've ever shown it to is excited about it.
I like Clippy. Yeah, I think we have probably every hackathon there's a Clippy submission that does one or the other aspect of Grafana, tries to help you out with something. But the one that you mentioned we haven't had yet. I think that would be a good next one. Yeah.
All right, that'll be my hackathon project.
Do you participate, Ronald?
I never have. I have. So like I said before, I was on the sales side previously, and the good news, bad news is I was literally on sales calls all day, every day. Just didn't have the time or bandwidth to do that. So like, it's good for the company from a sales perspective, but I always looked at the people doing the hackathons and had a little twinge of envy that I didn't get to be involved. So My new role, I feel like it's a lot more up my alley. I can make an excuse that that's part of my day job.
Ronald, I thought you did your book in the hackathon. I thought your first release was you just did it in that week.
Yeah, I knocked it out in 2 weeks. Yeah, no, that was a lot of nights and weekends. Everybody says writing a book is hard, so I was like, yeah, this will be a lot of work, and it was like 10x more work than I thought it would be.
Yeah, it's good though. I recommend it. Yeah,
I appreciate it.
Recommend it. Yeah.
I do.
But honestly, because there is no restriction, right? Like go-to-market people can participate in hackathons. I also think you'd be sort of primed to actually give a lot of sort of testimonial requirements, right, that are just from the field. I've watched a ton of hackathon submissions, and I feel like the ones that also have this kind of direct user feedback or testimonials, I feel like they usually get quite far also in the sort of finals. Yeah,
I think they're trying to like encourage that somehow a little bit more. I'm not sure if that's going to be true. Yeah, I don't know how they're going to do that, but I know that's up for conversation, because we do know those hackathons tends to be a little bit better.
Yeah, but you were a judge this time, right?
Yep.
Carl? Yeah. Is there any sort of new requirements or anything that's
We simplify the scoring a little bit, but otherwise I think it's the same as last time. We have 2 categories this time. We have the normal category, everything goes, and then we have an AI category where you can have a hackathon around some kind of AI capability into one of our products or anything, I guess. And we score them independently, so you can win prizes in both categories. So the second category is probably going to change every hackathon, and the general one is always going to stay. And we'll see what other categories that might be.
Yeah, I think we tried really hard to resist any category, right, for like a long time, because as soon as you mention one, you already shaping a bit sort of the creativity.
It's actually, I think it was only a handful who submitted into the AI one, or AI/ML. Most people went into the normal one. But a year ago, people would probably do the other way around, because AI was more hyped. I think people are not as eager to do that today.
Yeah.
Our hackathon project has AI in it, but it's not an AI thing. But we just use it to give you a little extra, and I quite like that application of AI, honestly.
I mean, a year ago, everyone tried to do something with text to like use LLMs. If that was queries, dashboard titles, descriptions, if you had an excuse to create a piece of text, then you would use AI for it.
Yeah.
David or Carl, do you think it's worth just mentioning what the hackathon is for folks that aren't part of Grafana Labs?
Yeah, I mean, we have hackathon weeks 3 times a year. And during these weeks, anyone at the company, it tends to be mostly engineers, but anyone at the company can sign up as a team or a solo if they want to. And they spend a week doing their hackathon project, and then they record a video, submit that, and then judges will look at those and score them. So we get a list of, I think it's 15 in total that then will be part of the second round of judging, and will go down to 3. And during the last all hand, or during the monthly all hands, the whole company will vote for a winner between those 3 submissions. So it's a very, very big thing at Grafana Labs, and we like it a lot. Mat Ryer was actually part of the hackathon video that we played at GrafanaCon during the keynote, because like hackathons at Grafana Labs adds a lot of good ideas. We explore a lot of good ideas and many of them turn into real features in our products. And also the platform team that we have internally, they do a lot of hackathons and they turn into internal toolings. A lot of them turn into great internal toolings. They should get more credit for those because they're very helpful. Things like when you do internal PR for infrastructure changes, you'll get a comment about the cost changes after that PR. and a lot of other cool things.
Yeah, no, yeah, there's definitely a good chunk of sort of underappreciated work from the platform teams. But Christina, who's on the call, has also participated at least once, because we also shipped one of your features. Do you want to talk about it?
The command palette?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I can't take credit for that because I wasn't part of the hackathon team for it. But when I first got hired at Grafana, they kind of gave me the hackathon repository, and they're like, "Go nuts! Can you make this for real?" And so I got to be the first person to kind of take a look at the hackathon project and translate it into something. And since then, it switched teams, and I think it's grown to way beyond like the hackathon or even what I did. So, but yeah, that was like the command palette changed how a lot of people use Grafana in their workflow, and it was really great to be a step in that from the hackathon to like what you have now.
Yeah, yeah. For a while, this was like everyone I talked to, I told about the command palette, because it's like for me, this became kind of the way to navigate for a while. But I felt like then there was this period where we just put too many things in the command palette, because it's like sort of became a victim of its own success. But now I think there's even a whole like research project around how could this all be sort of combined with search itself, right? Because I think there was a time when I looked at Grafana a bit as VS Code, right? And VS Code for a long time had the separation between commands and searching for files, for example, right? Or like searching for things. And I always thought it was quite good, but I can also see if it's structured well enough, right, that you can kind of combine the two. And so I'm trusting the UX team right now to come up with a good recommendation there on how to change this up. Yeah.
But I love that though, that an idea from the hackathon got put together. Usually, like, there's no rules. You can just literally hack it together if you want to tell the story and get it across. And then that then makes it. I love those when those features make it into the product. And you know, it's like there's something else about what the impact it has on the organization, because this is like saying you have like carte blanche, complete creative freedom to tackle something that you're interested in or that's been bothering you maybe, or just something you've seen. Sometimes it's in a completely different part of the company and it's like, you know, things are going a certain way and there's maybe a different way to look at it. And yeah, and then I think it levels up everything, because then when it's non-hackathon, you're still in that mode. You're still like, I'm still a person here that gets to have ideas and gets ideas, make them happen, you know, get them into the product and have an impact. And I think that's what attracts so many great engineers to Grafana Labs, honestly, and why they stay at Grafana Labs. I think a big part of it is that, and the hackathons, and that kind of spirit, that culture. It's the best place I've ever worked.
Oh, that's nice.
No offense to all the other places I've worked. I realize that's just a troll again on my CV, really, there. But yeah, I mean,
go down the list on LinkedIn. Yeah,
just go down the list and phone them all up.
So Matt, the last 2 years, anything that stuck out for you, but like besides the Expo apps, because I feel like they're sort of a thing on their own.
Yeah, that was going to be my answer though. So
you can talk about that if you want.
Well, it's just this only because like this kind of came. The Explore logs was the example that came out of the hackathon project, and yeah, the idea being, so you know, you've got these phenomenally powerful databases, and you can use the query languages to query things in and do all sorts of amazing, complicated things. And I think anyone that's ops heavy, it makes sense to learn those languages, learn those tools, so you can get the most out of it. If you're doing it every day, that totally makes sense. But there's a lot of people where they don't, maybe they touch it once a week, or they have a few queries and they just edit them, you know, but they're not really going to invest in learning all the kind of rich feature set. So the Explore apps try to essentially like proactively make all those queries for you and just give you the visualizations and give you the results. and usually it's volumes in a histogram. So you can see spikes, you can see peaks and troughs and things just in the data. And that turns out to be very powerful for a lot of use cases. One of my favorites is a DDoS one. DKitchen had a DDoS attack and was able to use explore logs to not only notice it was a DDoS attack, because obviously a big spike in the logs that were being written, but able to drill in and find the thing that was unique about all those requests so that they could then go and write a rule to block that traffic. So that was a nice example where D didn't even look at the logs. It was just the metrics that came out, which Loki is very good at doing, produce the metrics to show you insights from those logs, and was able to just sort of take action on it. So I like the fact that Explore Apps opens up all this capability to more people. You don't have to invest and go and learn the advanced things. You can save that for when you really need it. You can just go and start exploring data, and everyone can. Yeah.
Oh, I spent so much time learning Lockio though.
Yeah. So that's it.
It's gone to waste now.
Some people don't want to do it for that reason. Some people are like, no, I don't want to explore up. I know it. And honestly, there's nothing wrong with that. They can do more powerful things. And classic Explorer, of course, is big tent. So if you're working with lots of different data sources, then you'd still need all those skills. These apps are built on top of our databases. So yeah, if you choose Grafana Tech, you get all this extra stuff for free. But yeah, there are people that really want more pro tools from it. A lot of the early feature requests the Explore apps get are coming from a pro perspective, and it's hard for us. This is a careful balance we have to strike of how much do we enable, because of course we want pros to be able to do this stuff without overcomplicating the tool and making it just difficult or just another pro tool, you know.
So I want to give you some credit for the incident app as well, because the way that was built internally, I think that was kind of it was a nice thing to follow along. So we have a lot of incidents internally, right? And whenever you call an incident 3 years or 4 years ago, that was painful because you had to do a lot of things manually. And every week there was just like a minor tweak of things you didn't have to do. Like it became a button, and then it created everything around it. It created Slack channels. It started automating things, and every week there was some small improvements to instance that you kind of got curious to figure out while you were also dealing with incidents. Because we use incidents a lot. We rather call incidents early and then call it off and say there was nothing instead of waiting too long. And dogfooding that was interesting internally.
Yeah,
I love the incident feature in Grafana.
I really appreciate that. You know, it was having that big internal audience using it, just having basically a really friendly customer was just invaluable. And yeah, the questions, the immediate feedback we would get, and you know, everyone's kind of excited to help. And then when ideas came in that then made it into the app and got actioned, it's like that was just a very nice feeling. And lots of people across the company and customers that use it have contributed to the product in that way. And that's also why I love not just open source, but these kind of community efforts as well, so we can have more of that. Yeah, you just can't beat it. Building for real people, solving their real problem, and you soon know if you're not doing that. It's very clear, you know. So it's great. It's kind of great to get that feedback nice and early. And it also meant we could, because we dog fooded it internally a lot. By the way, a lot of people don't like the term dog food. Some people say drinking your own champagne. It's quite nice. We're not as fancy as that. Ours is just sparkling dog food. But it was kind of broken in the beginning, the app, in some ways. It was, you know, there were things that would just not work in it. And so having a friendly audience where we could just still give them things that weren't fully baked yet was also very, very helpful.
Nice. I was just browsing a bit to see what else came out, like a Grafana 10, 9, because it's been such a long time. I think the Canvas panel definitely needs a shout out, because it's one of those kind of like slow burning things that never really got sort of big prioritized, but the Dataviz team just keeps sort of improving and improving it, and so now it's sort of ready to essentially draw anything, and you can attach dynamic data to it, right? And so they made some cool demos around like a wind farm, or you could do your own like data center, right? And like each little box could have an updating, either sort of like a color or like an actual number, right? And you can just go crazy and illustrate essentially. And that started with a hackathon project too. And then just over the years now, just I think got really to a really good point. Have you seen any of this in the wild, Ronald?
I haven't seen anybody using it in corporate settings. I think it's kind of, as you say, it's the polish, it's the end state that people go to. I don't think anybody kind of starts there. And frankly, what I was doing was seeing people at the beginning of their journey for the most part. I've definitely seen folks using it more on the community side. I even use it myself. I tried to draw a picture of my house so that I could put, like, when I've got door sensors, I've got temperature sensors, and it became very quickly apparent to me that I'm not an artist, but I could still get the data onto the panel. So I've definitely seen a lot of folks do that. If I look at the solution engineering organization inside of Grafana Labs, see a ton of people building cool visualizations with it, and like, goal oriented, like this is where you could get to in the end state that they're showing to a lot of customers. So I think people are probably using it. I just don't get to see, but because that tends to be the later on things. It's so easy to set up a time series panel or a table panel that I think people start there.
Yeah,
you could take a photo of your house, Ronald.
What's that?
You could have a photo of your house there.
I actually thought about that. I started to go down that path and decided that it would actually take me longer to get the good pictures than it would to just draw. I ended up drawing boxes inside the canvas panel. It's very easy to make rectangles.
Are you using AI assisted when you're coding?
No, I didn't with this. I wonder, I don't know, is there something that I can just describe my house or give it a couple of pictures and it can make a picture for me?
Yeah, almost certainly, yeah.
I'll have to think of that.
Yeah.
I have something to add about the canvas panel. I mean, I love it. I use it a lot for different customers for the big machinery, especially when you have a lot of moving parts. You got a lot of metrics from a sensors. For IT project, it's great. We have a lot of different questions about canvas panel on our YouTube channel, and we created one of the videos how we created pizzeria observability when we actually have a pizza oven as a special component in the canvas panel. And there was a really old feature request to add our own, something like a plugin for these custom elements. Like you have drones, you have wind farms, and we create our own class for pizza oven, right? So it's something we got a lot of questions in the last 2 years, how actually people do that. Because now you have to code it, then you have to build your own Grafana Docker container, right, and run it. I mean, it will be now easier if we can actually have a special type of the plugin, like a panel, which to add the canvas elements, advanced elements.
I think that's a great topic idea too. So we can
for hackathon.
Well, for hackathon, but also for a future episode here of a community call, because we can get the team essentially in that build it, right, and then learn a bit on also what they're currently working on, and also like the more we hear the use cases, right, the more we can sort of figure out what to focus on. Yeah. No, that's brilliant. So yeah, we're almost at time. I'm curious, Mikhail, as a sort of champion representative, do you have any sort of questions for us? Any other sort of topic ideas that we should be covering in the future?
I mean, there are a lot of topics we already discussed, right? The canvas panel, alerting, I would love to learn more about it. There are so many things. I mean, every in the previous community calls, there was every weekly there was different team. It was monthly, right? It was different teams, and one of the community call I remember was with Ryan McKinley team. It was one of my favorite ones from community calls. It was one of the latest one, and I mean, I got so many information there when I just started. It was really a world opening for me. So it's something I hope it's going. These community calls will be the same impactful for the community.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, we can definitely get Ryan in here. He's also, yeah, he's moved closer to our time zones now. Here makes it easier.
Yeah. So having different people from different teams talking what they're working on, and I'm excited for new Grafana Con. I will be there. It's going to be Seattle, so it will be easier to get there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so we finally settled on a date, right? May 6th till May 8th, 2025. It's also a bit of an internal deadline for us to finalize some features that we want to showcase there. And yeah, I guess it's also North America time, right? Like last time was Amsterdam. Which was a really cool location. And then Seattle, I think, is going to be great too.
Do you know what kind of features coming in Grafana 12?
So the biggest thing that we're working on that we all sort of aligned around is sort of the management of Grafana instances when it comes to dashboards and like the whole as code story and how to have like a much better handling around this. And so essentially supporting GitOps a lot better, and hopefully also getting to a point where you can also have this kind of better promotion from one instance to the next, right? Like staging to prod, and yeah. But we have to figure out how far we get essentially, because we're also changing the architecture underneath. Because like why keep it simple when you can also like have it difficult? But it's we're making good progress there, and we have a good set of people on it, and we're formed a little tiger team around this, and they're making good progress.
Is it going to be some kind of preview, or you just announced it on the Grafana Con?
So I think we're going to release sort of bit by bit, right? Because the way Grafana Con also, the way we want to set this up is if it's a 1-year event, we can use this as a sort of like look back also. This is what we worked on over the year, because we're also a SaaS company, right? So we are releasing feature after feature already continuously to cloud. And then every week and month when the on-prem releases are being formed, the community can use this already, right? So there's this sort of trickle of features already coming out. And Grafana Con then really becomes the once-a-year event where you look back, seeing everything that was shipped to the community, and also then hearing from the engineers themselves, right? Like how the feature was developed, where it's going. Yeah, that's the plan.
Okay. I mean, because the reason why I'm asking, it's something we are working on as well internally at Volkov Labs. We have our dashboard management idea we are working on. So I just want to be aligned and maybe see what you come up with, and maybe we can share experience what we want to do with it, or how we see it happening. But I'm excited to see what we will get. Same talking about this constant updates in the Grafana cloud. It's actually really hard for plugin developers, because you always do something, and sometimes when you use advanced features, it's always something unexpected happens, especially with the Grafana Synth framework. It's just why we constantly daily building all our development and plugins on the main branch.
Yeah, that's
right
that's a good topic for another episode, right? Like plugins, our rolling release channels, and how that all works together. Sweet. All right. I think that's all we have time for today then. Then thanks for everyone coming to the first Grafana Campfire. And then I'll see you all hopefully next month.
Cool.
Thank you, guys.
Shall I put the fire out, David?
I think that's a good idea. Yeah, I think that's good campsite etiquette.
Yeah.
I'll see you all next time.
See you, everyone.
Cheers.
That's
Hi,
great.
guys.
See ya.